Gormagus Lascahirlock, and I'd like to thank Minister Daly for coming into the House in relation to this matter. This scheme was how would I put it? Abandoned or abolished by a decision of the government in 2013, in February 2013. Now, I'm quite concerned it has taken so much time, and I want to focus particularly on three areas. And there was a letter just a week or two ago from Minister Finian McGrath's private secretary, following presentation that he made to the Petitions Committee last October. One of the things that was said there, it's not possible to provide an estimate of how many persons who would currently be eligible for the payment of the mobility allowance if the scheme had not closed. Now, I find that amazing, because I asked the Library and Research Service, and they were onto the HSE, and I've actually come up with my own estimate, and an estimate can be challenged. But when you give the numbers of people, the drop in the scheme, people in the scheme since it was closed, and when you look back at the pattern before that, I would estimate that there's probably up to 900 people who have lost out over the last 5 years because the scheme was closed to new entrants. The Minister has been very strong about saying to us that there's none of the people on the scheme have lost out, they still have it. But the people who would normally have been coming onto the scheme, as people died or passed away or moved on to other things, they've not been catered for, and I don't think that's acceptable by any manner, and I don't think the Department has been putting enough effort into it. I had asked at that meeting, that committee hearing, when the Department was first contacted by the Ombudsman. The Minister at that meeting in October said it was 2011. But the actual fact of the matter is that a report that the Ombudsman did actually has a number of appendices in it. One of them, Appendix 3 on page 31 of the report, is a letter written from the Chief Investigator in the Ombudsman's office on the 3rd of February 2009. 3 months later, it was responded to by the Director of the Disability and Mental Health Division in the Department. Throughout the remainder of that year, both the Director General of the Ombudsman's office and finally in November that year, the Secretary General of Health were involved in it. Now, something is going wrong if a Minister at a committee doesn't know the basics of when the Department, and this is their first time, they were communicated with in writing. I also asked at that time, why didn't they, back in 2013, put that scheme on a statutory footing? And the response I got on the 24th of January this year, Cathaoirleach, was it was not possible to place the then Mobility Allowance scheme on a statutory basis, given the finding that the schemes were in breach of the Equal Status Act. But if you actually go and read the Equal Status Act 2000, and if you look page 20, section 14, certain measures or activities not prohibited, it just simply says, nothing in this Act shall be construed as prohibiting A, the taking of any action that is required by or under, in the first subsection 1, any enactment or order of a court. 5 years ago, and it'll be this day, it'll be 12 days from now, when the government actually abolished this scheme on equality grounds. There could have been, and there should have been, a simple procedure put in place to copper fasten the scheme as it was as a statutory scheme, pending taking the advice of the Ombudsman, which was to make sure that people over 65 and older people, and people are living thankfully a lot longer now, that wasn't done. At the committee, in October, Deputy Brendan Ryan asked the Minister, was there any funding in this year's budget? And the Minister said there's not. We still don't have the legislation. I have no sense, that's the basis of the commencement matter, I have no sense that that legislation, I have no hope that that legislation will actually go through this year. And then we're into the 7th year without dealing with something that was regarded as urgent, and people, ordinary people around the country, are losing out.
Thank you, Senator. Minister.